Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Right on.
You're up.
another Renny Doyle podcast with Chris. So I recognize what's on the shirt this time.
Oh yeah. So what is it?
Well, I believe that's going to be. Well, I don't know exactly what car it is, but it's the Mustang. I'm not that stupid, but it's got to be for you to be wearing. It's got to be a special Mustang. It's probably some one-off that has this one-off wheel that Carroll Shelby made himself, and it won 2 laps at a special race, or
Nothing like that. But it is a Shelby. It's a GT. It's either a 350 or a 500. I can't tell. But I think the only real difference was engine size.
Right.
Anyway, but I dig it. I like the color, and I've always been a fan of these. I like the inset driving lights in the grill.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing car. There was a time to where you could buy. I remember Rich, one of my best buddies in the world. His dad, I think it was his brother's car, but he went away to the military. But he had a fastback, not a 350 or 500, but a fastback, 4-speed. And oh man, we had a lot of fun in that car. But you know what, teenagers, it's a good example of teenagers not being allowed to drive that level car, because I can't tell you how many times we had that thing sideways. It's a miracle. It's a miracle we survived it. So yeah. Mr. Canino, if you're listening, Rich was driving. I had nothing to do with it. It was all Rich's fault. I'm still blaming him for stuff, but usually I was the one really encouraging him. It's pretty there. So you didn't ask me about my shirt.
Well, I didn't have a chance yet. So tell us about your shirt.
So William Lara, a good friend of ours, he made up these shirts. These are pretty cool. And what he did is, for every shirt that he sold, he gave all the proceeds to a local animal rescue to keep animals alive. So we made him a challenge that for every 5 or 10 shirts that he sold, we'd buy one. We ended up buying, I think, 10 shirts in total. So this is one of them, and pretty awesome. So I like good causes like that.
He's on this morning. He asked if you were wearing Louis Vuitton.
Yeah. Yep. Look at that. I am. That's my cologne, of choice. So hey, let's talk about risk. What we're going to talk about this morning a little bit, and we'll jump into some other small talk. But risk. We think about risk as leading up to when we start our business or expand our business, but really, when we launch our business, it's not just the struggle days. It's not just, you're going to face risk the whole way through. Matter of fact, as you get more mature within your business abilities and your spidery sense kind of builds up, is that you'll take more risk, but they're calculated risk and they're really educated risk. And I actually look for those risks. And at this stage of in my life and my career, it's fun. So some of your biggest risk will come days, months, and years, decades after you actually launch your business. But I remember the first time I pulled the trigger on completely, like my first business. I worked my way into it, and I didn't know any better, because I'd never, I had jobs. I sold tickets at a go-kart track. I worked on the go-karts. I watered trees. I did all these different things. I worked at Carl's Jr., a fast food place out west for 10 minutes.
Yeah, for the people on the East Coast, that's the same as what do they call it? Hardee's.
Hardee's. That didn't go over too well. I was a happy kid, but it's just fast food kind of. I was always bored, and so. But matter of fact, Rich, my buddy, and a bunch of friends came through the drive-through, and my manager had just gone on break, and so I heard their order come through. So I went back there and squeezed into the line, and put 7 patties on each of their burgers. And, so she came back out surprisingly and picked up the bag, looked at the order and what they're paying for, and then kind of weighed it. And, it didn't add up. It's that they'd probably bought about a pound of food, and there's probably 14 pounds of hamburger meat, on their burgers. So she gave me an exit strategy, basically fast food's not for you. So, probably best to quit, but we could fire you. She liked me. Pretty cool, because you know what, she gave me a donation for football the next year. I kept in contact with her, and but anyway, risk goes all the way through. But so this last weekend we had a 1-day extreme course here in Big Bear. We had we had to put it off just because of an event within our family. So we had to delay it a couple weeks. Busy day, great group, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had a good group. It wasn't a crazy large class, but we had 8 solid students, and it was a good group. They had fun together.
Yep.
We had fun with them.
Yeah, we usually like to go about 10 or 12. We've gone as big as a group of 14. We just bring in more instructors. But this was a great group, good people. And so we Swirl Salt truck, we got all the wrap off of it. So it's officially for sale. We've had a lot of inquiries so far, and see what tire. I'm not in a hurry to sell it. Had some stupid, ridiculous offers, like always, And then our new truck, we got a lot going with it. Last week was a big week for it. So we'll kind of go in later to what we're going to do, and we'll do a video and kind of show off, what the new shop truck is. And then, we're not going to leave it alone. We got to mod it, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, it'll be pretty cool though. It'll be very cool.
Well, and part of it too is, our whole dream of there's something going on that you haven't even heard yet. That's going down tomorrow. That part of our nonprofit that we're starting. So we're taking a big step on that. We had an opportunity come up, so I've got to run up to Northern California tomorrow and get something secured for the nonprofit. So the nonprofit's coming together. Next week we host a 5-day extreme class. So I'm excited to meet everybody and get that going. So yeah, I had a rare opportunity this weekend. I had cigars with good friends of mine here at the shop. They came by and we talked detailing, talked cars, and these guys. So you know the Tombstone, the movie.
Yeah.
So
yeah. The who's in that? I can't remember the actor.
Oh, come on, you got to know that.
Kurt Russell's in there, right?
Yeah. Did you know everybody's always had it wrong? It's not "I'll be your Huckleberry." It's "I'll be your Hucklebearer."
Really?
The Hucklebearer was the handles on the coffin, meaning "I'll be your Hucklebearer. I'll carry you to the damn grave." Huh. Yeah, go back and re-listen to it. Yeah, it's not Huckleberry. Everybody's got it. It's Hucklebearer. And I'm probably saying it all screwed up because I talk funny anyway. So, but the Winehammers are basically. I basically had cigars with Wyatt, Virgil, and Morgan Earp. These guys in San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, these guys are like it. I mean, there's generational. I don't even know how many damn cops they got in their damn family with San Bernardino County, but they're good friends of mine, and it was cool to father and son, and see them over here, Jim and Travis, and just have cigars with good friends, And,
well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of father and son, for our 5-day training next week, we have a father and son coming out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's going to be good. So here we go. So just do it. A lot of times when we're talking about risk, a lot of times in business, it's something associated with us and kind of slowing things down. But here's the deal: is that do it smartly and do it with good theory. Is so many people don't have any solid theory, and I always say that our group's gotten to the point to where, the people that we rub elbows with is, I won't say there's no theories, but there's not a lot, unless it's new terrain. Unless it's, when software came in, we didn't have a lot of built up knowledge. We had to learn, but now there's no theories, on how software works for your company. So, make sure that you, that you don't have any wild theories. And if you don't have enough data, is owning that. So, but before we do, Diane, we've got some good news from P&S. He's been there for a while, but Ian, with P&S Products, he's jumped in, and Ian's a good guy. We've spent a lot of time with him now. He came to our 5-day advance. He was up in Monterey with us, but Ian's a young guy, and he's been working on our website, and dialing it in, but he's really customer service. He's really working his way into really being a huge part of our culture and communications with customers. So as you guys deal with P&S, as Ian's new one, you're going to see more and more of his face. We're going to bring him into social media and get him on too, because him and Chris geek out together on cars.
Yeah, Ian, his name's Ian Belcher. He's fresh out of college, and he's a smart guy, and he came to our 5-day training with us. So He's getting well educated on detailing, and he's kind of heading up all the online kind of behind the scenes stuff for PNS.
But we're going to get him out. He's too cute not to get out mainstream, and so we got to get him out. We're going to get him involved, and he knows too much about cars.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. He's like a mini Bob.
He is. He's like a mini Bob. It's and that's let's that says a lot. That says a lot. He is pretty. So hey, let's Chris, let's go into some risk. We've all faced risk, right? And at different points. And so one of the things I'm always asked is, what's some of the risk that I fear? And mine's more at a level of like losing people. Something happened to one of my kids, Diane, my mom. I lost my mom. That was one of my biggest fears in life. The two biggest fears as a kid was losing my grandma or my mom, and it happened. I mean, it's going to happen, right? I mean, it's the process of life.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, it was just as bad as I imagined it would be, and so losing somebody is, and then believe it or not, letting other people down. I hate the fact that, in this day and age, my schedule's gotten pretty tight, and there's just so many. I would have never guessed, Bob Phillips and I, we talk all the time about this. I would have never guessed that we have so many things coming at us on an average day at just warp speed. And so I hate, feeling like I left somebody down, and then leaving somebody behind. This has only happened to me really once, and it sucked. Is that we had somebody that we just couldn't get home and back to their family, and it's something that even I just talked about with the Winehammers this weekend. Is that still bothers me, that it just didn't happen. And then losing, I don't care. I'm super competitive, and I don't like second place. I don't like, and if I am going to come in second place or third place or last place, I'm going to learn from it, but it's my fuel for whatever comes up next. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've lost money. I've lost everything. I've had people take advantage of it. I've had all these things, different things happen. Those things you can always make up for, but I'm more fearful the risk of, so to say, not really risk, but the things I can't control, and that's usually the human element and the people that we love. Those are factors that kind of get to me. That makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. So business wise, what have you, have you taken risks in business that you have feared?
Yeah. I mean, you go back really, I learned when I was really young that fear was paralyzing, and that if you got, I guess search and rescue, really helped me. Doing so much within search and rescue really helped me realize, because there is, it's different when it's life and death. But even when it's life and death, fear is one of the greatest emotions, because fear can save you or it can kill you, depending on how you straddle it, depending on how you use it. And so business-wise, I just figured out, hey, man, there's going to be risk. And if I don't take these risks, there's no gain, But I really quickly realized that I got it handed to me a couple times when I was really young. And so I sought out people that were in locations in life, through platforms in life, where I wanted to be. I learned really quickly not to go to people that were in my same position or barely above and ask them, hey, what do you think about this business idea? That was the wrong thing to do. Now, there's some sharp people, but most of the time I really went to people that were in a whole different location, and more so where I was heading. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so really, since, I was 19 or 20, there hasn't, I mean, there's been big decisions, right? But you just don't overanalyze them. What's that? Paralysis by analysis. I've mentioned it several times, is people will get so freaked out that they don't make a decision. And I think a lack of decision, can be deadly. Right. So,
you don't know where to start sometimes.
No, that's exactly it. So but I've never faced challenges alone. Is that cool to say? Because I've always been able to take and harness other people's input so that I wasn't ignorant to it, so that I wasn't non-educated. So I wasn't. Now, sometimes I got, okay advice. Sometimes I got downright, bad advice, but that's also learning. And so, and here's what I did too, is listen to my gut instinct. My gut instinct and my heart, when you combine those two, and smarts and getting intelligence from other people that have been there, done that, it hasn't served me too bad. It really hasn't. When I've gone off of 100% emotion, that's when I've gotten in trouble. That's what's brought me the most problem within it, was when I went after, when it was ignorance, when it was just purely ignorance. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, expand on that a little bit. What do you mean by ignorance? So, like,
okay, for instance, when I was young, even like one of the things when I was I like 20 or 21 is we jumped back into the automotive industry, and I started window tinting. Window tinting was popping off, and I signed my first lease. Well, I didn't know anything about leases, and I signed a horrible lease. It was a triple net lease. I had all these pass-throughs, and I made it through it. But, when we renewed, I didn't go triple net. I stayed away from it. I had learned, and I went to my neighbors, Walt Monique, matter of fact, that were right across. They had a pasta manufacturing company, believe it or not, and became really close friends with him. And I went over and talked to Walt about the lease, and he was he was sat there. He's like, "Really, you signed this? I mean, really?" But again, what I should have done is gone in and asked somebody, beforehand, not afterhand. So that was a rough, I can't remember if it was a 1 or 2 year lease, but it was, I don't think it was 3. I think it was 1 or 2. But I was able to rectify that, but it was ignorance. It was ignorance and passion on fire. I just wanted into the shop so bad, right, that I signed on the dotted line, and I didn't think it all the way through. And it ended up costing me, at least a third more than I should have been paying. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I was watching something over the weekend, and I won't get into what it was because that's a big rabbit hole. But one of the points in it was emotion. That learning to separate that emotion from your decisions can go a long way. And
Boy.
And when that emotion is mixed in there too much, you could potentially be creating more risk.
Yeah. Justin Lobato, and a lot of us, if you don't know who Justin is, you should. And then Justin's a really wise young man. And he has this thing, and he said, I heard him say it years ago, is that remove the emotion out of business. Is that you've got to take the friendship part out, and remember that there's a time that there's the friendship, and there's a time that there's the business side. And if you're mature, you'll know the difference, and boy, if that doesn't hit it, Chris, is the emotional side of it, and risk when you're getting in there, again, kind of ignorance, emotions, all these different things play such a part of it, because we're so excited about things, but that excitement needs to be calmed, and if you don't have the smarts, because boy, I certainly didn't, when I signed that lease, and there's been other things I've had to learn a tough lesson on. My point is, people say, well, you learn that lesson by going through it. Well, yeah, but why do you have to go through it? That's what I'm saying, is that you want to warp speed through some of these issues by having people that have got more experience that can give you knowledge, and they're out there, but there's also people that will strip you down, and want to kind of see you fail and give you bad intel, and so you got to really, again, your spidery senses, you've got to be able to kind of tell the difference. But yeah, it's a great point with emotions. So I never stop thinking about what makes us better, stronger, and wealthier. I mean, never. I'm constantly coming up with ideas, and a lot of them involve some level of risk. There's a risk at everything. There's a cause and effect to everything. But I never stop thinking about that. Now, do we take massive, huge? No, man, we're not going to take anything that's going to, we're not going to roll the dice and bet the farm on it, so to say. But we're constantly, and Chris and I talk about it all the time. Bob and I talk about it all the time. People in in our group talk about it all the time. We've got right that it's calculated though. And then what keeps me taking aim at risk and winning is my risk outside of business. Is that I really believe when I'm stressed, is I'll go do something that's a little not safe.
Yeah.
I'll go for a hardcore hike on the mountain behind us. I'll take my motorcycle out. Not that I'm risking it when I'm on my trail bike, but a lot of people just live on couches, and they don't take any. And I go out. Mother Nature is an equalizer, and it might be that you go to the gym and you lift. It's a challenge. It might be that you play chess, to get away. But you've got to go out. I honestly think that if you're not taking and filling your mind and your heart and your lungs up with excitement and adrenaline, if you don't get that blood pumping, well, then when risk arrive in business, you're not going to be prepared for it. Is usually once a year I jump out of an airplane. It's usually really close to my birthday, and I every time I do it, I hit the ground, and it feels good to be alive. Because you just jumped out of a damn airplane.
Yeah, and you didn't go splat.
Yeah, and didn't go splat. You didn't, yeah, everything worked as it was supposed to. But I just remember, or I come down like I'll never forget last fall, I was up on the mountain behind us, and I'd taken this new route. And there's hundreds and hundreds. I could live another, 100 years, and I could not take the same route down. Well, I was coming back down. I took a new route that I'd never been on, and I got to this like 30-foot cliff, and I couldn't go anywhere. And I was like, okay, well, I really don't feel like going up another 100 meters, and changing it. So I got to find a way around it. And it was so fun. I felt so good when I'd found the route down. And, it was like a jigsaw puzzle. I had to put it together, and, I was cut up a little bit. My hands were cut, and, I was dirty, and it just felt good. It felt good. So that kind of keeps me taking aim at risk. And, I love when I say, I just saw it again, is a 90-year-old Korean war vet, 101st Airborne, just jumped out of an airplane, at 90. And I'm like, man, that dude's getting it, I mean, a lot of 90-year-olds are, most people aren't alive when they're 90. Most of us are going to die before that time, But here's the 90-year-old that made it through war, served our country. God knows what he faced, came home and faced life struggles. And when most people are, have a drool cup below their mouth, this dude's jumping out of a damn airplane. I mean, I just think that's rad. I think it's pretty cool, that somebody's doing that. So,
I actually saw a news story the other day about 101-year-old. I can't remember which, but he jumped out of D-Day Doll, that C-53 cargo or troop transporter.
Yeah. So, was that cool or what?
It was very cool. I mean, good for him. I wouldn't do it. I'm not jumping out of anything.
George Bush Sr., is that he made it famous by he jumped out of the airplane on his birthday, and he was doing it well into his 80s and maybe 90s. Yeah. I don't know. He was up there. So I just think that when you look at people that, matter of fact, even in our current times, you look at some of the not so distant millionaires and billionaires and all this stuff, and they're risk takers. They're up in airplanes. They're going up in space. They're doing these different things, and they're kind of hanging it out there, and they don't need to. But that's what you don't get. That's what I think that just prepares you for challenges and opens you up and helps you realize that just shit's not that tough in business. That there's shit out there that can kill you, and wants to kill you. What's the saying that Steve McQueen is that, hey, chase after life. It's going to try to kill you anyway, or something like that, is that Steve McQueen. You look at this guy. I mean, it a lot of people is, oh man, what's his name? I'll think about it right now. I've got him. Miracle on Jimmy Stewart.
Oh yeah.
Okay? He was an accomplished pilot in the military. A lot of people don't realize that. And during World War II, he became, a pilot and flew. I mean, he flew missions. A lot of people don't realize this, but during the Vietnam conflict, the studios locked down to where he couldn't do anything combat related. Well, he'd flown sorties in World War II. He'd flown sorties in Korea, and he wasn't going to stand on the sideline and not fly at least one combat mission during Vietnam. So he snuck off without the studios knowing it and did. He flew a combat mission, and they found out about it. And they say, if you do it again, we're gonna cancel your contract. And I believe that he didn't do it again. But again, here's a guy that probably at this time he's probably chasing 60, and he's going up and putting himself in harm's way. And I don't know. I kind of dig it. Is it crazy? That's why I dig it.
You want to know what's cool? I just looked it up while we were sitting here. He did that in a B-52.
Yeah, check that out. Check that out. So it's so let's you know what I forgot. I want to tell you guys. I just posted it, matter of fact. Let's go back over. Let me find it. Is that I put something on here, and maybe I'm not to it yet, but I put something on the notes. And so many of us, I know people that are listening to this right now have got their day jobs. And I remember, I didn't have a lot of jobs. I've been self-employed most of my life, but I did have a couple of really good jobs. But even those jobs, there's a point where I just wanted to get out. I just wanted to get out. And there's a saying, and I believe it's job stands for just over broke. And it's not necessarily talking about money. It's the mentality, is that I know a lot of people that have had careers and they loved them, and they went through it, and that wasn't me, and it wasn't that I made good money, but I felt mentally broke, and so to jump up and take the risk and to go into business is, again, calculated. And that's what we're talking about now. So let's talk about risk equals loss in many minds. Well, in successful people's minds is risk is opportunity. It's not. Risk doesn't look at losses. And so you've got to change your mindset. And so many of us are paralyzed when it comes to risk. But yet the risk, it gets you to the sweet spot, as long as, again, it's not ignorance. It's not, you're not using unknown theories, as you're going and you're seeking counsel, so to say. But I want to read that again. Risk equals loss in most minds. And in successful entrepreneurs, risk equals opportunity. Now, I'll tell you, I'll come to our team with 10 ideas, and 8 of them don't stick because they're just ideas. But you've got to look at all these things to really grasp the true opportunity that you have before you. And many people don't look at it. They'll get into one thing, they'll get past that risk, they'll take a jump, but then they go stale for years. Well, you can't, man. You got to constantly be moving forward, and you got to constantly be looking for another opportunity, and you constantly got to keep your mind fresh. And that's where a lot of people don't do, is they just don't keep you go stale so quickly, and you can't do that. So let's talk about calculated risk versus ignorance on fire. Realize what you know and what you don't know. There's the very first thing that I look at. When I'm looking at a risk, how much information do I have on this topic? I already used a lease. That was one of the biggest blunders I made. I didn't know anybody at that point. I didn't think I did. I did have plenty of people that had done leases before. I just didn't think about it in that way. They had bigger companies. They had this. Well, you know what? They would have understood it perfectly, and I didn't go to them because I was a little ignorant to it. Another one is financials. A lot of us don't know financials, and I want you guys to write this down, burn it in your head, take note of it, whatever it is. CPA is you've got to take and have a good accountant, and right with that should be a bookkeeper. If you don't know your stuff, get them. And, Diane preaches it, is that, we took big steps early this year. Chris was part of this, is that it was one of my weak spots. It was a thorn in my side, is that we had a good CPA, but he wasn't great to us anymore. It got stale, and we had a bookkeeper, and it wasn't working. Well, now our new CPA and our bookkeepers are financial advisors. Now they report all of our earnings and everything else. Everything goes to our CPA every month, but they go through and they set us up in our ledger and everything else. But not just that, they're advising us what to do, advising us how to save on paying taxes. They're advising us how to spend our money before tax dollars, where to put it and everything else. And so that's really important that you have that. Hiring. Yep. Hiring is another one. This is a fine example where it's risk. Out of all the risk we're talking about, that one should spook you the most, because here's why. It's another person's livelihood. So before people ask yourself this, do I know how to be a good boss? You might think you do, but do you really know how to lead others? Even one person part-time. And I'm going to tell you, when I first came into it, I really watched a lot of great leaders as a kid. I had World War II vets all around me. I had these great people, right? My grandma was one of them. So I really got some great leadership values at a very young age. I really did. And I would study teachers that were good leaders. You know, teachers in the classroom are leaders. And they've got these little young minds. And I saw the difference between bad teachers and good teachers, and okay teachers and great teachers. And I picked up on their style, so to say. And does that make, well, your wife's a teacher, you know? And,
oh yeah. I watch her all the time. And this past year, I got to really watch her, you know, because she was at home doing it
firsthand. And you can see her lead her class, you know? And it's so important is that we start picking up those traits. That's why teachers are so important in our kids' lives. One of the most important things that you need to pay attention to if you're raising kids is who's teaching them and what are they teaching them, and how are they living examples in front of your children when they're at school. Those are important things. And listen, we were not afraid if we got a teacher that we didn't mesh with. That was a bad teacher necessarily, just didn't mesh with our principles, our values, you know, our ethics, whatever it may be, is we'd move our child out of that class. Simple as that. It wasn't, we didn't go in there screaming and pointing fingers and yelling and everything else. We just requested a change. You know, simple as that, because we knew where we wanted our kids to go. As they got older, that got harder because our kids, a lot of times, they like teachers that maybe we didn't, but they had their own reasons, and we went with that. You know, we accepted that. Yeah. So plan out risk is plan it out, be real with yourself. Here's what we do. Risk comes with attachments. Cause and effect is every time that you're going to take on a new risk or you're looking at risk, just that alone is taking up your time. Right then and there is you're burning brain cells thinking about that risk. You're burning time with your family. You're doing these different things. So look at the cause and effects, and then desired outcomes. What is this new venture? What is this risk going to do for you? Is it going to take and change your life? And changing your life could be a couple different ways too. Is that you could become enslaved to something. I've done that even later in my career as we started up. You know, we had one of our most successful businesses we ever owned turned out to be a nightmare because it was 24, literally, I'm not kidding you. It was 24/7. We had slow times, but they were few and far between. And it was 7 days a week. And our phone rang 24 hours around the clock. And I remember coming home and telling Diane, damn, we started this thing. It's doing good. But if we don't sell this thing in the next 6-8 months, we got to get it. We got to get out. It's going to kill us, you know, both of us. And amazingly, we sold it, you know, and thank God too, right? Here's something we started, and it was great. It was great, right? People say, wow, what are you complaining about, you know, having a successful business? No, man, when it's 24/7, there was no lifestyle. I mean, it just ate our cookies. I mean, it was horrible. So there's desired outcomes and there's undesirable outcomes. So you got to plan for both of those. You got to look at both of those, right? And then I just mentioned it, increased demands on your time. What's it going to do to your time as you do this? I'll tell you this right now. A lot of you aren't thinking about that. You're thinking that time goes on forever. It doesn't. And it's called burnout. If you're not careful, it will lead you into burnout. So you got to be very protective of your time, believe it or not. You got to be very protective of burning yourself out. You got to be very protective of creating something that takes away from your original business that could actually hurt you. So all those things. And then financial rewards or downfalls is what's the upside to this opportunity, this risk that we're looking at? What's the upside? What's the downside? Is that if this thing does struggle or doesn't turn out or it's eating too much of our time up, in the event that we just shut it down, are we going to lose much? And then also, what is the reality of just going out and kind of doing a test run with it? Could we do some beta testing? Could we do some exploration with it without jumping all the way into it? Is there a training program we can go get exposure to? Listen, I'll talk to people all the time and they'll say, I went to this training and it just didn't pay out. No, why? Well, I learned I didn't like it. I said, no, that's a huge payout. The fact that you learned you didn't like it and all you invested in was training, good. That's excellent. Yeah. You just saved yourself a lot of troubles. So, hey, takeaways before we go on. We're gonna make some impact here in a second, but before we do, let's talk about this right here, sitting here, paint prep. Man, I've come to love this stuff. So, paint prep is a surface prep, and before you're going to do a coating, right? And so we love it for that. But the thing I'm using it for a lot is it's a great glass cleaner, and then also I use it as a clay lube. If you want a pure clay lube that's going to clean the surface, this is a great alternative to it. Now, you got to be doing some paint correction afterwards because it will soften the surface up just a little bit. But if you want it cleansed really deep, this is the way to go. One little hint. So I see your bottle.
I love this stuff. I keep a bottle at my desk, but you can see my bottle is less than half full right now.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I'm not kidding you. I'll go in after this and I'll post a picture up. There's a bottle of mine underneath my sink in my bathroom. I clean my sink with it, the glass, the shower, everything else. It just do quick wipe downs with it. It's an incredible cleaner and it smells good. It smells really good. Makes you feel like you just cleaned something, like it's not there. But, I've really turned in when I'm going purist on my claying to use it. It's pretty incredible. And it doesn't soften, the clear's not a good analysis, but it's definitely going to take and be more aggressive as a clay lube, but you're going to get stuff. It's clean. It's really clean. And it's a great alternative. I learned that from the Germans when I did a lot of work with Sonex. Great product company too. Hey, by the way, we just got some new Sonex.
Oh, did it show up?
Goodies. Yeah, we got some new Sonex goodies. So
that's cool.
But I was, they came over, the Germans came over and put a class on for us, and they used their equivalent to this product as a clay lube. So they're the first ones to teach me. And then I went to Germany, and a lot of the guys over there and gals are using that same technique because it just cleans it so good. So there's paint prep. That's our product of the podcast. So let's jump into this. Let's make some impact, shall we?
Yeah.
Say, when facing risk today, I ask some simple questions. Seriously. So how well versed am I within the opportunity? So first thing I do, be honest with yourself. Demands on my time. Is it going to take away from how I make a living? And if so, is the calculated risk worth it? You really got to ask yourself that. Upside and downsides, what's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly, just in case, and the cause and effects. Now, I also take and I look at capital investments. What capital is it going to take? And am I going to miss that money if it goes away? Got to ask that. Again, don't bet the farm. Return on investment. Am I going to get a return out? How long is it going to take me? What's that going to look like? How losing that capital would affect our business, how it affect our staff, how it affect my family, how it affect me. In the event that it doesn't turn out as we thought, what's that going to feel like? And then exit. What's this do to my company to add value to it? Is that, or in the event that it blossoms, I told you about our one company that we did, it blossomed. Well, we always had in the back of our minds to keep really good books so we could sell the company. And that's exactly what we did. And when we had the first people that come in ended up buying it, we had really, really good books. We had really good tracking on our customers. We could show everything in detail. And this was long ago to where it wasn't hard, but today it's a lot easier. There's a lot of software that makes doing that pretty dang simple. And the next, get feedback from those who count. Okay. When you're going in and you're looking at a risk, is my mentors. First place I go to, people I really trust with wisdom, is I'm going to go to them. My team, I'm going to go to them. I'm going to get input from them. and then my family, is because I want to give them the good, the bad, and the ugly on how this is going to roll and what it's going to look like, and what the cause and effect is. There's a cause and effect to everything. Don't get feedback from the following: is people who have a job, and again, just over broke. And I'm not saying that people have a job, it's not bad. There's a lot of good people that have good careers. But until you own a small service company, you're probably not going to totally get it. You might have an MBA and you might work with IBM. But until you run a small company with the demands of a small company, and you start out as a one-person operator, you're not going to understand the demand. So it's not a jab at people that have got a job. And again, just over broke doesn't mean, I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking when you put years into the seat in a company, from my experience, this is from my experience only, is it's a soul sucker. It's slowly but surely you start giving away pieces of your soul, And I really felt that when I was in corporate America, it was a short, 5 years of my life, that if I stayed any longer, I was going to sign the deal with the devil. That I was going to be so in and committed that I couldn't turn back and get out of it. I'd have to do my 20 or 25 to make it reasonable. And I didn't want to be in that position. And then those that aren't where you want to be, is that you've got to look ahead and get input from people that you appreciate their position in life. Now, you need to truly know it, because some people will project they've got the Porsches, they've got this, they've got the fancy houses, they've got debt and stress and a failing marriage and kids that hate them, their dog bites them, all these things going on in the background, but on Facebook they look pretty badass. You need to have relationships to where you know the facts about these people that are giving you intelligent input. Is it intelligent or is it ego? You got to ask yourself that too. And it's pretty easy to see once you dive into the weeds a little bit and you get down. You'll notice those people right off the bat.
Looking back at all this stuff you just talked about, the demands on time, the upsides and downsides, cause and effects, all that stuff. That's what, we've unfortunately seen a lot of companies have to make the tough decision to back out of SEMA. Yeah. And, all this is part of the process that I guarantee you they all went through in making that decision. It was a tough choice for them.
Boy, I'll tell you, that's a great analogy and a way to look at it, because how many discussions have we had, as a team,
yep.
That same topic? And it's risk versus reward. It's return on investment. It's passion. SEMA is, for so many of us, it's more than a trade show, and I tell people that, but my friends, the Earp family that was here this weekend, the Winehammers, is, they're totally into SEMA and they've never been. And, they're Jim's gotten into the car gig. Right. And so to go and see it, this is going to be their first year, so for people that are outside of our world looking in, it's that big of a deal, and for us that are in there, some of us don't realize just how cool it is, and yeah. It's one of those things to where I always look so forward to it. And then by Friday, you're really beat. But then by Sunday, you're like, oh, damn, I can't wait till next year. Does that make sense? It's that cool. Mm-hmm. But you're right, Chris. So many people have had to have, how many discussions are happening today in regards to that, especially back September 1st, because that right. September 2nd cutoff, was it. How many discussions happened at businesses all across the country of, their decision to go or not go to SEMA? How many of those discussions has SEMA had? I mean, I guarantee you the pressure cooker at the SEMA headquarters is pretty intense right now. Yep. They're not taking this thing lightly, and I'm sure it's heavy on their minds, and it should be. There's some serious consequences to the actions. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, either way.
Good point.
Either way.
So
hey, I understand that there's something you like to say when you've loaded rescued people onto a helicopter.
So, it's unfortunately when we get people, when we go out with the rescue units and the number of times I've brought people into the helicopters are, people are scared, man. It's a big machine. And if you've never been in a helicopter, especially when it's in a full hover and it's coming up, and they're bringing you up either, via hoist, or they just did a one skid and we're putting you in there. It's a scary experience because that thing is throttled up pretty high. A lot of vibrations, a lot of noise. You might be a lot of wind. You might be slightly injured. I mean, it's a different smell. There's strangers up there trying to help you. And I just tell them, hey, stop screaming. I'm scared too. We're all scared. And so it's what you do with that fear and that risk and everything else. We're taking a risk. A buddy of mine is an air medic here in San Diego County, and he was recently in an event to where they lost an engine, and they had to do an emergency landing. Everything turned out great pilot, great crew. But unfortunately it was probably his first dozen ride outs. And so, he got the adventure of a lifetime that a lot of us have. I've been in some near misses, to where we've had mechanicals and stuff. And I honestly, there's been 2 times in the air to where I thought, well, this is it, take in the beautiful mountains, say a prayer, because this is how it's going down. And, by God's grace, we, something figured out. We were able to make it. Great pilots and great situations, and we were just put in the right place, and it wasn't our time, thank God. And, we moved on. But there's been 3 times in my life to where I thought, oh shit, it's over. This is how it ends. One of them was a flash of a second, and literally it was one of those things when it happened, as I went, and I was like checking to see if I was in heaven. I was like, am I dead or did I make it? And it was pretty amazing. So we all have fear of taking on risk. It's how we manage that fear. Fear is a great emotion. You just got to control it. And when it comes down to risk, that's the emotion it starts to produce is fear. We get fearful. Let that emotion ride. Learn how to take and use it as your fuel. And I hate to say this, stop, drop, and roll. It's a saying I say often. Stop dwelling on it. Okay. Drop, sleep on it for a night, sleep on it for a week, sleep on it for a month. And then once you take and the action you need to take is roll hard and don't stop. Don't look back, go forward. And if you succeed, which you probably will, man, how cool is that? And if you don't, well, it's a learning experience. It's not a failure. It's not a failure at all. It's a learning expense. Well, expense too, but it's an experience. And you're going to take and come out of it a much smarter person than you were before you did the risk. So, all right. So, Chris, anything else you want to add?
Oh, I think you covered it. I'm good.
Cool. Well, that was fun. So, we got so many cool updates that you guys are going to see some things going. The truck, the new shop truck. We're working, pretty excited to work with Icon Suspension on that. So they've reached out to us. Pretty cool. And
I got one thing to add real quick. If you're in SoCal and you're a detailer, come on out to Oscar Hernandez at 805 Detail Shop in Ventura County is having a IDA meet and greet this Friday from like 4 to 7.
Chris, you're going to be there, right?
I'm going to be there. I'm pretty sure you're going to be there.
I'm going to be there. Diane's going to be there.
Kyle's going to be there. I know there's some people even coming from out of state for it too.
Oh yeah. So you know what? Be there or be square.
Be square.
God, I'm a geek. I love it. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great one. And Oscar's a great guy, and we can't wait to get up there and we'll share. We got so many cool things I want to share with you guys, but not yet. Not yet. We got I had a call. I'm not going to say by who yesterday, but Chris, after I couldn't sleep last night, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I talked to Kyle, and Kyle's like, are you shitting me? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, dude, you know what that means? Well, then he hyped me so damn up that I couldn't sleep.
Oh, I was on the phone with him, and I told him, and he's like, all right, I got to call Renny right away.
Oh, he did. And then I got because it set in. I knew who I talked to, and it was like, oh, that was pretty cool. That was way cool. But, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to put him in a bad spot to where, and there's a reason why, you pay to play.
Yeah.
you pay to play. And so, I don't want to set up the tempo for people, but it was pretty, he's a younger dude. He's younger than me. He's not young, but he's younger-ish. But it's somebody I really, literally look up to. I mean, literally. But it was pretty freaking badass. And I got a lot of work to do. I've got some risk.
Well, look at that little lesson right there, though, right? Like, it doesn't matter who you are, who you're mentoring, or who you're just friends with. Making a phone call out of the blue to somebody makes a big impact on them.
Oh man, that was just, I mean, that within itself was a lesson, I mean, it was just pretty incredible, to think that, I got a little bit of time with this individual. And I was like, but then thanks, Kyle, because I couldn't sleep last night after he called me. And he's like, God, did you realize what? And I was like, no, I didn't realize that, didn't think of it that way. So he gets out the phone. I'm like, well, great. Now I'm not going to sleep. And so I finished the notes to this, and man, it was just incredible. But we got a lot of fun things, and I shared those things with him, and he pumped me up even more at this individual. And I think we're going to have a new YouTube channel and social media platform coming out that's going to support some of what we're doing with the truck, with the lifestyle, with the whole nonprofit that we're going into. Is that I think there's a lot of fun adventure coming our way. And I'm excited to share it with other people. And Chris is going to be part of that too. He gets to go out and do some new ventures that he's never done before. So we're going to put you into some new elements of, not really uncomfort. We're not going to go out and, although I would like you to go, jump out of the plane with me for my birthday.
Nope.
Would you do that with me?
Nope. But I will go there and I'll support you and I'll watch you do it, but I will not do it myself.
Will you get in the tunnel and do it? You mean
like the fake things?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question too.
We could start out with that. You know what, dude? That's going to be, that's going to be it. So, well, hey, thanks for tuning in. Again, we want to thank P&S Products for doing it. All our sponsors. We got some great people who've got tools behind us. We got Rupes, we got Flex, we got so many people. Sonex just sent us out some great stuff for the training center. And we got so many great people that are involved in, but P&S is the people that make this happen for us. So reach out and tell them thank you. And again, hey, stop looking at risk as it's big and scary. Is look at it for face value and enjoy the moment. You've got the opportunity to take a risk. How cool is that? So, all right, guys. Chris, we'll talk to you soon. I am going to have some coffee right now. I'm going to go make some pressed coffee. So, all right, man. Take care, everybody. God bless. We'll see you soon.
Yep. See you guys.